All eyes on the world champion as he makes his way into the playing hall of the Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters. Gukesh is on half a point out of two, and he now takes on Dmitry Andreikin today. Gukesh started off with a draw in the first round against Nihal Sarin, and in the second round he lost his game to Alireza Firuza, and now he takes on 2710 rated Dmitry Andreikin. This will be an important clash for Gukesh as he has the white pieces here and an ability to push a bit with white. The players get ready as we have the well-known internet influencer Goofy Gen Chess, who makes the move pawn to a3. And if you haven't been following Goofy Gen Chess, do check him out on Instagram. He makes his content in Tamil. And a handshake there. Off we go. Pawn to e4 by Gukesh. And Andreikin's choice against e4 is going to be the solid e5. Knight comes out to f3. And we have knight to c6 played. Now, Gukesh goes for the Scotch opening. Very interesting choice. Pawn to d4. And let's see how Andreikin is prepared here, because a lot of the time of these top players go in preparing against the Italian or the Ruy Lopez. So d4 is something maybe they do not put in so much time, but maybe they have. Knight f6 attacking the pawn. And Gukesh goes for the main line with knight takes c6. Now observe how complex the Scotch is, because black cannot really take with the d pawn. The queens get traded, the castling is lost, and b takes c6 is definitely the best move. Now after e5, if you do play knight d5, there's c4. So it's playable, but queen e7 is the most logical because you pin the pawn. And queen e2 breaks the pin. And now you're happy to play knight d5, because if you play c4, I can play bishop a6. But Gukesh goes for the modern line with h4. d6, hitting right into the center. Now the h4 move has multiple ideas. Bishop g5 is one, rook h3 is another. Now striking the knight on d5 with pawn to c4. The knight goes back to b6. And what do you do with this pawn? You take it. E takes d6. And essentially, Gukesh is ready to play this endgame. Now, if we would have taken here, takes, this is maybe a very slightly better endgame for white. But once you don't trade, he keeps the queens on the board. And look at Andreikin. He's all prepared. He goes d5. Knight comes to d2. And now it takes the pawn on c4. Now, if you take knight takes c4, then bishop e6 or bishop a6, and black is quickly finishing their development. So Gukesh, after 6 minutes of thought, plays g3. Just, I think, remembering his analysis. Bishop e6 defends the pawn on c4. And now bishop comes out to g2, attacking the pawn on c6. Black goes queen to c7, defending the pawn. Now castles here. And black is a pawn up. So bishop comes to b4. A very good move by Andreikin, who's also kind of blitzing out his moves. Bishop takes b6, taken by Gukesh. The idea of this move is to win the pawn on c4 as the knight was defending. And he takes back, a takes b6. And now knight takes c4. So black does have the bishop pair, but the king is in the center. The bishop is a bit weirdly placed. Knight e5 would attack the c6 pawn. Andreikin says there are no issues. I'm simply going to castle. And Well, for Gukesh, knight e5 is the idea. Now, if bishop d5, I take and fight for a small edge because the pawn is isolated on d5. But what a beautiful move. Bishop c5. Coming back here, Gukesh now takes the pawn, and the point behind Andreikin's play is that this bishop controls this diagonal, so I can actually pick up the pawn on g3. And now comes a very important moment, because here is where b4 attacks the bishop. If you move it away, then the queen is hanging because the bishop needs to be on this diagonal. And bishop h3 is the move that Andreikin had seen. This is a very, very good move, a counter-attacking move, trying to checkmate. So queen e4 played by Gukesh, defending the g2 bishop. But now Andreikin has it all covered. Queen takes g2, taken. Queen takes g2. Bishop takes on g2. King takes on g2. And now the thing is, this bishop is hanging, but black has a very nice move, which is rook f8. Fantastic. And the point of this is that if you move the knight, you lose the pawn. And so Gukesh takes the bishop. And Andreikin now takes on c6. And in this resulting position, the only side that I think can play for a win is black, because white pawns are weak. If you manage to win one of these pawns, it could be a huge thing. Rook check. And so what Andreikin is doing is not just taking the pawn, he's trying to create some play where he can win the h4 pawn. But of course, it's super risky to let the pawn on b6 be alive. King h3 played. This does allow rook a3 check. And now pawn to f3 or king h2. These are the two moves possible. So he plays king to h2. And now rook a4. Haha. Threatening a mate in one here. So king h3, Gukesh comes back. There can be a repetition with rook a3, rook a4 in this position. But Andreikin, yeah, he goes for it, rook a3. I think as black, Andreikin has nothing much to worry about here. And so definitely he would want to continue playing for the win. And by the way, look at Gukesh's time on the clock. He has 1 hour, 3 minutes. So he's played very quickly today. And now Andreikin wants to continue. He keeps both the rooks on the board. Rook takes b6 taken. And Gukesh is ready with his move, rook fb1. Because there is a back rank issue. So clearly you have to take, threatening a mate. So no time to take the a2 pawn. That would be a very pure back rank mate with just a rook on the board. h6, taking away the back rank issues. And now I was wondering, what is the best way to play? Do you go rook a1 with your rook behind the pawn? But the pawn is really blocked on a2. So rook b2 makes more sense, defending this way and keeping the rook active. I think the rest of the game is not super interesting because it's a draw. But there is a chance that Gukesh can go wrong. Why? Because the rook is covering the third rank. The black king is essentially trying to come up. So it could happen that Gukesh could lose a pawn and then be on the defensive. So very interesting to see how Gukesh will defend this endgame. Andreikin goes rook a7. He first brings his rook back. Okay. I guess the reason for coming back to rook a7 was that imagine you would have gone king g6. I can give a check, and if you go king h5, I can attack your pawns this way. So rook a7 prevents that. King g3, king g6, f3. So keeps his king active now and defends this. Rook comes to a5. Rook c2, waiting. Rook a4. I think Andreikin is enjoying himself here. He's playing the position. And Gukesh goes king h3. Rook a3, attacking the f3 pawn. Rook g2 check. King f6. And he brings his king up. King to g4. Check. And you can play f4, but it does get a bit risky after h5, you know. Do you want to take and then get your king little bit boxed in? King h3, rook a5, king g3, king comes to f5, waiting. Now the g7 pawn is hanging, so pawn to g5. And with trades happening, the game moves closer to a draw. Because h4 was a weakness, and after you were allowing it to be traded, I think white is happy. King comes to g3. So now the king has the job to defend this pawn. The rook's job is to defend this pawn. Rook a3 and now rook b2. Getting the rook active this way. I like the fact that they are playing until the bare kings here. And he goes rook b3. I guess the point of it is that if you take here, he wants to just play 2 versus 1. And he takes on b3, a b3. And f5. King f2. Gukesh has this calculated. King f6. I mean, to me, it felt like rook a2 would have been a better try, but I mean, that's also a draw. So at the end of the day, it's interesting. f4 takes. King f3. And now just take these pawns. And the game ends in a draw. And Gukesh gets the draw there. A little bit of an uncomfortable endgame, but I think the result was never in doubt. Meanwhile, Andreikin played perhaps an absolutely accurate game of chess right from the opening till the end game. And excellent play by him to get a draw with the black pieces against somewhat lesser played opening, the Scotch. And with this, Gukesh is on 1 out of 3. And he will be looking to get his first win in this tournament. It's going to be a low scoring tournament because in every round we have only one decisive game, 3 draws. So let's hope that Gukesh is able to win some games in this tournament. It would be amazing.